Welcome to this Saturday night show. I'm glad to have you guys here. I'll tell you what we're going to talk about tonight. We are going to talk about helicopter money. And an awful lot of you have heard the term helicopter money. I don't think you actually understand what helicopter money actually is and why we need it and why it's going to happen. Because we've never had it before. It was based on a term that was given out by Ben Bernanke. Ben Bernanke coined the term helicopter money. I believe he coined it in one of his speeches where he said, if we have to fight deflation, he said, we will, if we have to, dump money out of helicopters. We will make $100 bills and we'll wad them together with elastic bands and throw them out the window of helicopters if we have to fight deflation. And he meant what he was saying. He was being serious, but they coined the term Helicopter Ben, they called him, because of the helicopter money. So helicopter money is basically the government borrows unlimited amounts of money. It's in a desperate situation to try to stop a shrinking economy. Economy is out of control and spiraling into deflation. And they basically give the money to anybody who wants it. Here's the money. This is your money, helicopter money. And so let's explain and let's talk about an article I come across in Zero Hedge today. It says, Facebook co-founder wants to slap a $3 trillion tax on the rich to pay for a universal basic income. Facebook co-founder Chris Hughes wants to tax anyone who makes over $250,000 to the tune of $3 trillion in over 10 years to use the proceeds to provide a universal basic income to every working American who makes $50,000 a year or less. And boiling it down here, what he says is, and what they say is, that this program would essentially be an expansion of the earned income tax credit for low to moderate income individuals and families. They're going to provide, in this program, they're going to be providing $500 a month to anyone as an added income to anyone who has making less than $50,000 a year. Now, if you're making less than $50,000 a year, you know who you are. Now, I got something to say about this. Over the past, say, if you went back 10, 15 years ago, for all the people that's making $50,000 a year or less, say you make $20,000 a year, 10 to 15 years ago, you were able to actually stretch that money together so that every month, you might have even had a little bit left over every month that you were able to put in the bank. But now that's not the way it is anymore. Now, with the cost of living is so bad now, and everything's went up in price so bad, that now you're generally $100 short every month, or maybe more. And you've probably you've probably got credit card debt. You've probably got other debt that you owe. You might have your mortgage. I don't know. You're just barely pulling things together. And this is what they've been doing. They've been tightening the screws on the middle class. They're going to be faced with no option. And this is why they're preparing. And this is why you're hearing, like if you went back 5 years ago, you never heard of guaranteed income. Now, almost everyone I'm talking to in my audience right now has heard of this before. And it's starting to become something that you're going to hear of. You're going to hear about it more often. And the reason why this is a last resort, this is helicopter money. The guaranteed income is helicopter money. And there's other forms of this helicopter money. Another form of it is tax rebates and money coming back from your taxes. They're already starting to implement some of these programs, and they're getting them into place. They're going to have to increase them exponentially in size and scope. They don't have any choice at this point in time. What's going to happen is we have a deflation event coming that's going to be worse than 2008. I'm going to be very clear about this. This event's going to strike very rapidly when it hits. just like 2008 struck very rapidly. The response it's going to take to get us out of this, and believe me, they're going to have to respond to it, because if they don't, it'll destroy everyone. It'll destroy the economy. It'll destroy them. This is a toxic pill that's coming, and there's only one way out of it. They have to inflate their way out. There's no other way out. And this helicopter money is purest form of inflation. It's unsterilized injecting money directly into the economy to pump up the economy, but it causes hyperinflation. There's no other way around it, though. This is what they have to do. This is what they have to implement at a certain point. So we're going to get the deflation. It's a deflationary shock. I call it a deflationary shock event. It's going to strike quite suddenly. And the response to it on the other side is going to be what creates the hyperinflation. I call it when the Fed turns around their policies and they move in the other direction. But they're going to do more than just turn around their policies and have quantitative easing and have different forms of injecting money and liquidity into the system. They're also going to have to do these helicopter money programs. They're not going to have any choice out of it. One of the things they might do is they know from in Canada here it's called a social insurance number. In America it's called a social security number. They know from your social security number they have records of all the taxes you've paid going all the way back to when you first started working. One of the things that they're probably going to do is cut you a check. And they're just going to have to know your name and social security number to cut you this check. And they might give it all back to you, all the taxes you've ever paid. I'm going to tell you, when you get that check, say it's $180,000 check or whatever, don't walk, run to the store. Go out and buy that new car or whatever. Don't walk, run, because this is going to be so inflationary. Prices are going to go up so fast. Don't go putting it in the bank and trying to save it. That's the most foolish thing that you've ever done in your life, if you put it in the bank and try to save it. And by the time those checks go out to everybody, your friends and neighbors, when you look across the street and you see your neighbor jumping up and down in his front yard, screaming with his hands over his head, saying, "I won the lottery! I won the lottery!" Because the government just sent him his check, and they've just sent you your check, and these are big checks. This is helicopter money. This is what it is. This is helicopter money. They can't do anything else to stimulate the economy. They have to continue with the Keynesian process that's already in place, that's already been implemented. They have to continue with this process. They've got no other choice. They have to keep moving forward with it. This is simple. So this is what helicopter money is, but there's more. And part of the implementation of this is what's called a guaranteed income for all. If you've got to apply for it, all you need is a social security number and your name and proof of citizenship. It's going to be that simple. You're not going to have to show how much money you make, as long as you show that you make less than $50,000, because they're already telling you what they're going to do here. It's and how much they're going to give you. In this article, they're telling you how much they're going to give you. They're going to give you $500 extra bucks a month, and it's going to be anything under $50,000. So if you make under $50,000, you're going to be good to go. They're basically throwing it out there as a test case, and they want to see what the public's reaction is going to be to it. That's what they're doing right here already. Because they know it's coming. It's coming ahead this close now at this point. So I wanted to report on this tonight. This is nothing new. It's called helicopter money. Ben Bernanke, he hinted at that they would have to do this at some point in time. I knew that they were going to have to do this. They are going to have to implement these things. And to pacify the people, of course, they have to make marijuana legal. Because they're going to have to keep the people. This is all part of the program, too. They have the plans in place. There was a fella who wrote a book about their plans for their new society. He called it Brave New World. He wrote a book on it, in fact, and in the book he wrote how that the people were going to be what he called somatized on something called Soma, S-O-M-A, Soma. And basically, it's a cocktail that the government will get, part of how they're going to control the people. Ultimately, they have plans to have their new world order and their one world government and their one world money, which is probably going to be some form of cryptocurrency. They have all these big plans, but it seems like their big plans end up going astray. There's an old saying, the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. Anyway. I'm straying from the topic. My topic was this universal basic income and helicopter money, and part of the ways that they're going to implement it to actually distribute this money to the population. And this is part of what's going to lead to this economic recovery, a real economic recovery that I've been talking about, that's going to cause the hyperinflation. This is the trigger for the hyperinflation, is this real economic recovery. Now, you see, when the crisis happened in 2008, they didn't do enough to bring about a real economic recovery. They only did enough to get us halfway there, or into a little bit of a recovery, enough of a recovery, let's put it this way, so that they were able to say we were having an economic recovery, and they didn't get the people saying no. They got a lot of people that believed we were. And that's because they brought us up and out of the economic crisis to the point where it almost started to feel like an economic recovery, but they didn't do enough stimulus. If they had done 5 times as much stimulus, they would have caused a hyperinflation. But they also would have created an economic recovery, a real economic recovery. Well, this time, what do you think's coming? The real economic recovery is coming, and so is the hyperinflation. But also, so is the helicopter money. So wait for it. Don't say I didn't tell you it's not coming. What do you plan on doing with your check? Because I'm going to tell you, when you get it, you better spend it real fast. Bye-bye for now, guys.